I got to see myself in him. And when I see myself in him, then I hold on to it. And then the enemy can't offer me something to get me in the flesh. So we want to grow. So he says, listen, go with me to Romans chapter 7. Hallelujah. Romans chapter 7. So what is this thing here we're dealing with? We're dealing with this thing that plagued man's body at the fall, Daniel. It's about delight. When he put man in Eden, delight was birthed. All of a sudden, we now have to get back to delighting. Because when you and I begin to seek God and begin to worship God and begin to honor God and walk uprightly with God, listen, what it does is it positions us properly spiritually. And when we get back to the position spiritually with God, it lines us back up so he can begin to fulfill that life that he had from the beginning. Listen, so that's why it fell with delight. Now, God said, in order for me to fulfill my will in your life, Vivian, he said, well, you have to delight again so I can continue on with where it stopped at. That's why now what we see, delight thyself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. God said, now you got to go back and delight again so that I can begin to work my plan where it was broken at. Listen there. Go with me to Romans chapter 7. You there? For the sake of time, I'm going to, now we're dealing with this thing. Now here in Romans chapter 7, for the sake of time, look at verse 15. Now, that word do right there. Y'all see that little word do? That little word right there is a powerful little word. I didn't know a little two-letter word has so much power. But I realized it united me when I said I do. So I learned then how powerful do was. And let's look at it. And I love it. Woo! Look, that word do is powerful, man. Listen, I say that to say this. That we're gonna follow this word. Because this little word right here, you see it all the way down in these verses we're going to look at. You see it from verse 15 down to verse 21. You see that word do. You see it? That is not the same word all the way down. I'm going to help you. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Paul here in Romans chapter 7, he is helping you and I to see how to defeat this flesh. Because the minute the fall of Adam happened, sin hit the body of a human. And it stayed there. And it won't leave to the rapture. When we get the glorified body, when this corruptible put on incorruption, and this mortal put on immortality. Until then, you and I will have that law of sin working in our members. Isn't that right? So we have to know how do I defeat this thing? How can I get past this thing so it doesn't make me a slave to do what I don't want to do? Because that's what Paul was dealing with. Paul was saying, man, I'm trying to do. You know how you meet people that say, man, I'm trying as hard as I can to do what's right. But it seems like it's so hard I can't get to do it. Because you can't do it in the natural. Because you have nothing in the natural to defeat that law of sin. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Now, that word do. Let's look at it, verse 15. I'm going to give you 3 Greek words. The first one, I'm going to give it to you so you'll know when I'm sharing them. I'm going to tell you the number of the one I'm using, okay? Katergozomai, 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 Katergozomai. Katergozomai means something inside working out. Something on the inside of you that's working its way to the outside. Number 2 is the word prasso. It's a Greek word prasso. 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 Prasso means practices as way of life habitually. Prasso means I practice it as a way of life habitually. Third word is poeo. Poeo. If you need me to repeat it again, I'll repeat it. Prasso means practice as a way of life habitually. Third thing is poeo. The third word is poeo. P-O-I-E-O. Poeo. I'm giving these for a reason. We're going to follow this word. Poeo means to do or commit. To commit to it. To do or commit. Now, number 1 is katergazomeny. Number 2, prasso. Number 3 is poeo. Now, let's follow this word. I'm going to tell you which one we're using. Look at verse 15. Paul, as apostle, is getting ready. He says, verse 14, for we know that the law is spiritual, but I'm carnal, soul under sin. In other words, we're talking about the law is spiritual, but Paul said, I am carnal. My body is soul under sin. So now he gets into this discourse. For that which I do, I allow not. That word for that which I do is the first Greek word, number 1, katergazomeny. That which I do. In other words, I allow not. In other words, I really don't want to do it. But he said that's the number 1. That's something on the inside working out. For that which I do, I allow not. It's proven fatal. It's bringing death to me. Then he goes and he says, for what I would, that do I not. That's the number 2. That's prasso. He says, for what I would do, for what I want to do, that I do not. That's for what I want to do or practice as a way of life habitually, I don't do. He says, I really want to practice as a way of life habitually what I want to do, but I can't do it. But what I hate, he says, what I hate, that do I. That's number 3. That's commit or make a commitment to do. So Paul says, what I don't want to do this and practice as a way of life habitually, but I end up doing it. So now he says, what I hate. Isn't that amazing? Where you literally doing something you hate and you feel like you don't have no power in yourself to get free. A lot of people are like this, Danny. You meet people like this all the time. They're not enjoying the way they're living and what they're doing, but they fighting with this thing. They're struggling with it. They say, man, I hate it, but I can't seem to get free. Paul said, man, that what I don't want to do, he says, that what I do not is what I hate. That's what I end up committing myself to do. Look at the next one, verse 16. If then I do, that's verse 3. That do is number 3. That's poeo. He says, if I commit to do that which I would not, I consent to the law that it is good. He said, in other words, he says, if then I do that which I would not, if I commit myself to do what I don't want to do, he says, I'm consenting that the law is good. In other words, it's not the law's fault. It's not the word's fault. I'm just committing myself to do what I don't want to do. It's not the law's fault. It's not, in other words, he says, I consent that the law is good. In other words, there's no problem with the word. He says, the problem is not with the law, it's the problem with the word, the problem with me. Listen, verse 17. Now then, it is no more I that do it. That's number 1. That's katergazomeny. He says, then it is no more I that do it. In other words, it's not I that's doing it. It's something on the inside of me that's working its way out. It's not me doing it. He said, that's katergazomeny. It's something on the inside working out, Paul said. Now and then he said, it is no more I that do it, but he telling you, but sin that dwelleth in me. Verse 18. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. Listen, for to will is present with me. In other words, I'm willing. I'm trying to use my will to do what is right. He says, for the will is present with me. But how to perform? That word perform is the same Greek word katagozomene as number one. That word perform. In other words, Paul says, for to will is present with me. I'm wanting to do what's right. I'm trying to use my will all I know how. But how to perform that which is good, I find not. Because why? That's katagozomene. Because that thing that's inside of me working out is got a hold of my will. And I can't even will to do what's right. That's why Jesus said, my will is look, I came not to do my own will. See, it's a matter of getting your will out of the grasp of the enemy. Because listen, your will is a part of your soul. Every person is tripartite, 3 parts, triune, 3 in 1. Every person is spirit, soul. 1 Thessalonians 5:23. Paul said, I pray God, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless to the coming of the Lord. Every person is triune. Every person, listen, you are a spirit, you have a soul, and you live in your body. Listen, your soul is made of your mind, emotions, and your will. Your mind, your emotions, your feelings, all that. That's all soulish. Your mind, your emotions, and your will is in your soul. That's why we as a believer, we are saved instantly in the spirit, progressively in the soul, and future in the body. In other words, the minute you receive Christ, you instantaneously, your spirit man is transformed. You are renewed. But now we spend our whole life as a believer, renewing, getting our mind, which is our soul. We're working on our soulish from now to get it to cooperate with the spirit. Because the spirit is always willing. Now I got to renew my mind and get my thought process and get my soulish realm, my will and my emotions and all that lined up with God so that now there's no dissension here. And then and the body follow. He's a slave. He just go wherever he told. But the battle always starts in the mind. It's always in the mind. Look at here. Perform. Verse 19. For the good that I would, I do not. Paul said, for the good that I would, in other words, I want to do good. I do not. That's 3. That's poeo. The good that I want to do, I cannot make a commitment to do it. I want to do good, but every time I commit myself to do good, I keep falling short. That's number 3. That's poeo. Listen, but the evil which I would not, or the evil I don't want to do, that I do. That's number 2. That's praso. In other words, the good that I want, I can't commit myself to do it. But the evil which I don't want, would not, or don't want to do, that I do. Praso. That's the way I practice it as a way of life, and I end up doing it habitually. Paul said, I can't commit myself. Every time I make a commitment to do what I want to do, I end up can't do it because the evil, the stuff that's evil that I don't want to do, that's what I end up practicing as a way of life habitually. Isn't that something? Verse 20. Now if I do, that's poeo, commit. Now if I commit myself that I would not, it is no more I that, do it. That's number 1, katagozomene. Paul said, now if I commit myself to do if I do that I would not, it is no more I that's doing it. What is he saying? If I want to do that, it is not I. In other words, Paul says, not me doing that. If I'm committing myself to do what's right, if I commit myself to do that, I would not. He says, it's not I, it's no more I, but it's katagozomene. It's that something that's on the inside of me that keeps working out. That's number 3. That's number 1. He said, no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. Verse 21, I find in a law. See, it's a law. that when I would do good, that's poeo. I found a law, Paul said, when I want to commit myself to do good, evil is always present with me. Every time I commit myself to do good, evil always with me and makes me fall short. I'm committing to do what's right, but I can't find the power to do it. How many people y'all know like that? That's why I desire your will, Lord. God gonna help us here. We're gonna show you how Paul got out. Look at what he says. Verse 22. For I got the delight to get out. You see that? He bringing me back to the garden. I got to reestablish my relationship with God to get out from under this power. Because this thing, look at it. He says, for I delight in the law of God, where? After the inward man. We just read that just now. It's the inward man. The inward man is where I got to start at. The inward man is where did David say? I desire truth in the what? Inward parts. So now, listen, Paul said, I delight in the law of God after the inward man. In other words, you got to get saved and you got to go after God's Spirit. You got to start seeking God and filling your life with His Word. And watch what happens. Paul said, I see another law in my members, in my body. Paul said, he said, this is a law. Paul said, I see it. There's another law in my members. This law is what's crippling me. This law in my members is what got me tormented with the fact that I can't do what's right. You know how people just get in trouble and something, they just keep getting in trouble. And people be like, why is this person keep doing the same stuff over? They ain't learned yet. It could be this right here. They might not want to do it. They might have no power to break free. Because that thing got a hold on them now. See, once these demons and these devils and these things get in us and get a hold on us, you need some help to get out of these things. You become a slave to these things. These things got a hold. This is spiritual. You need only when some of these people can get free is Christ Jesus got to come in under the power of the anointing and set them free. That's why we got to try to reach them. Paul says, I see another law. Where is it? It's in my members. Warring. There's a war here. This thing, Paul said, this law in my members is warring against the law of my mind. Hold up, the law of my mind. Law in my members, law of my mind. My mind is working by the law. Is that? He says warring. This law in my members is warring against the law of my mind. There's a war going on here between your mind and the sin that's in our members. The law, my mind is working by law, just like faith. In my mind, the law of my mind is a fixed principle that's always operating. You don't turn it on or off. Just like the law of gravity, you have no control of that thing. That's why, listen, the law that's of sin that's in the members is a law. That's why you can't defeat it. That's why that person is stuck. That's why Paul said, I'm struggling, because that thing is a law and I have no power over it except another law that's higher than it come and override it. He says, the only way I can get free from this thing is I got to have another law that come in and break it loose. He said, it's warring, Danny. I see another law in my members, warring. It's fighting me. Look, that law of sin that's in my members, look at where it's warring at. It's fighting my mind. That's why the battleground is in our mind. You control my mind. You control my life. Because that's why we're here today. Our mind brought us here. We have to think first. We have to see, God can put it in your spirit, but it's still, your mind has to be illuminated to see it and comprehend it, because it's still got to come from the spirit. And that's why Paul prayed in Ephesians, Isaiah, understand and be enlightened. See, your mind got to be illuminated to discern what's in your spirit. So, because you got to get it from here to here to here. That's how we live. That's why the more our mind is renewed, we cooperate with what's coming out of my spirit. Isn't that right? So Paul said there's a warring against my mind. The law of my mind. I'm going to talk. I see this already going to lead me in that. I'm going to begin to I'm going to teach you about if it's a law, if my mind is working by a law, then I need to talk about our mind, right? I'm going to talk about it. Because we have to, I got to help you figure out which mindset you're living in. Are you a reprobate mind? Are you a carnal mind? Are you a spiritual mind? Are you a renewed mind? We got to find out which mind we're operating in. Because if this law is, my mind is working by a law, I got to know which mindset I'm in so I can break free. Because if I have a carnal mind or, listen, a reprobate mind, I can't get free. I got to have a spiritual mind. Romans said to be spiritually minded is life and peace. That means I got to figure out which mindset I'm in. That's why when I help you figure out what mindset you're in, then you snatch yourself from the clutches of that sin. But you can't get free until I help you see, locate yourself. Then you say, now, okay, that's me right there. Then you don't run from it or reject it. You accept it and you go and you fall on your face. And you say, Lord, help me. I need help. I can't get away because I'm a carnal mind. I got a reprobate mind. And listen, I can't get free. He says, listen, it's warring against the law of my mind and bringing me what? Into captivity. I'm in captivity. That's bondage. And bringing me into captivity. What? To the law of sin, which is in my members. In other words, the law of sin that's in my members is warring against the law of my mind, and my mind keeps thinking and adapting to the sin that's in my members. It keeps hold on my life. It's keeping me captive to the law of sin, which is in my members. Because the law of sin that's in my members is warring against the law of my mind. In other words, they're fighting each other, and they're warring against each other to be in control. But without the power of God, without the spirit of, listen.